Sometimes, the very people who are supposed to protect your marriage turn out to be the ones most determined to tear it apart. I married Rebecca 3 years ago, and from the moment we said "I do," her mother, Patricia, made it painfully clear that I wasn't worthy of her daughter. Patricia came from generational wealth, the kind where lineage meant everything, and integrity meant very little. I, on the other hand, was a mechanic who worked late nights and put myself through engineering school. In her eyes, that made me little more than a low-class dreamer pretending to belong. But Rebecca chose me, and that was all that mattered. We had a modest wedding, something simple and heartfelt. Though Patricia protested bitterly, embarrassed by what she saw as her daughter marrying beneath her. She had long wanted Rebecca to end up with Thornton, the son of her country club friend, a spoiled trust fund kid who had never lifted a finger in his life. When Rebecca turned her back on that world and married me instead, Patricia didn't just disapprove. She went to war. At first, her tactics were subtle. Remarks about my wardrobe, my car, or my blue-collar job. She'd casually mention to Rebecca how her peers' daughters had married lawyers, surgeons, and CEOs while she'd chosen someone who worked with his hands. Rebecca always defended me, but I could tell the constant comparison was beginning to wear on her. The poison was slow acting, but it was seeping in. Then Patricia turned up the pressure. She began calling Rebecca every time I was away for work, planting seeds of doubt. "How can you be sure he's where he says he is?" she'd ask. "Men like him, when they get a taste of success, they tend to reach higher." At first, Rebecca brushed it off. But over time, I noticed her subtly checking my messages, watching my reactions more closely. The trust we'd built began to strain under the weight of suspicion. It all came crashing down last spring. I returned from a 3-day conference in Denver to find Rebecca at the kitchen table, crying uncontrollably. Spread out in front of her were photographs, images that made my heart stop. They appeared to show me walking into a hotel with a blonde woman, entering an elevator together, her hand on my arm like we were more than just acquaintances. Rebecca looked up at me with red, tear-streaked eyes. "My mom brought these an hour ago," she whispered. "She said her friend saw you at the Marriott downtown. She said she was just trying to protect me." I stared at the photos, my hands trembling. The man in them looked just like me, same build, same favorite blue shirt, but I had never seen that woman in my life. And I'd stayed at a completely different hotel across town. "Rebecca, that's not me," I said. "I can prove where I was minute by minute." But her face was already etched with betrayal. "These were taken last Tuesday," she said. "The same night you texted me from your dinner." Patricia had done her research. The photos were time-stamped to make it look like I'd been sneaking around during my trip, when in reality, they'd been taken locally while I was hundreds of miles away. "Your mother staged this," I said, but I could hear how desperate I sounded. Rebecca flinched. "My mom wouldn't do something like this. Why would she go to such lengths?" That night, she packed a bag and left to stay at Patricia's. The next morning, a courier knocked on my door with 2 envelopes. One containing divorce papers, the other a restraining order claiming I'd threatened both Rebecca and her mother when accused of cheating. I was stunned, heartbroken. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I hired the best attorney I could afford, Catherine, a seasoned pro in high-conflict divorces. When she examined the photos, she squinted through a magnifying glass. "These are expertly done," she said. "Your mother-in-law either has serious connections or paid a professional. But we might be able to prove they're fake." Catherine brought in Miguel, a private investigator who specialized in digital photo analysis. I gathered every scrap of proof I could find from my Denver trip. Flight confirmations, hotel keycards, restaurant receipts, even selfies with colleagues at the conference. We built a tight timeline showing I couldn't have possibly been in those photos. Miguel's breakthrough came from the shadows in the images. "Look at the lighting," he explained. "The light source on the man's face doesn't match the woman's." These were 2 separate photos stitched together. Very convincingly, but not perfectly. Then came the kicker. Miguel traced the blonde woman in the photos to multiple stock image libraries. She was a professional model whose images were available for commercial purchase. Someone had bought her photo and edited her into images of me. But the most damning evidence came from Patricia's own phone records, which we obtained during the legal discovery process. 3 weeks before the fake photos surfaced, she had made 14 calls to a company called Discrete Evidence Solutions, a shady business that marketed itself as providing visual proof for concerned family members. Miguel called them pretending to be a client, and they offered to fabricate photographic proof of infidelity for $2,500. They even showed him samples that looked eerily similar to the ones Patricia had brought to Rebecca. Miguel dug deeper. Patricia had deleted her text history with the company, but her backups gave her away. He recovered everything: messages discussing my haircut, the blue shirt I often wore, even notes on how I stood or smiled. One text said, "Make it believable enough to convince my daughter, but not so obvious he can disprove it. I want her to file quickly before she backs out." That message alone was a smoking gun. When Catherine presented all this to Rebecca's legal team, their tone changed immediately. Divorce proceedings were halted. Rebecca called me in tears, apologizing, devastated that her mother could do something so vicious. She asked if we could start over, go to counseling. I said yes, but I also knew Patricia couldn't be allowed to get away with what she'd done. We filed a defamation lawsuit against her and reported Discrete Evidence Solutions for fraud. In court, Catherine laid everything out: photo analysis, recovered messages, testimony from Miguel. Patricia's attorney tried to claim she had been duped by the company, but the evidence proved otherwise. Especially that one text. "Make it believable enough." The judge was visibly outraged. You could feel the room shift when Patricia's actions were fully exposed. She'd spent thousands of dollars and months of planning to sabotage my marriage, and now everyone knew it. People gasped. Patricia went pale. The judge awarded me $25,000 in damages and ordered Patricia to pay all legal fees. More importantly, he granted a permanent restraining order against her. She could no longer contact me or spread any more lies. But the true victory was something deeper. Rebecca finally saw her mother for who she really was. Driven by pride and classism, Patricia had nearly destroyed our lives. But we didn't let her. Rebecca cut ties with her mother entirely. We went to therapy and slowly rebuilt the trust we had lost. It wasn't easy, but it made us stronger. Patricia, on the other hand, lost everything: her daughter's love, her reputation, and over $30,000 in court fees and damages. The photo company was shut down and faced criminal prosecution. Sometimes I wonder if Patricia actually believed she was doing what was best for her daughter, or if her pride simply couldn't stomach the fact that Rebecca had chosen love over status. Either way, her obsession with control turned into her downfall. Because no matter how perfect the lie, the truth has a way of shining through. And in the end, it wasn't just my name that was cleared. It was the power of our love that endured.